This video is going to be a little bit different from the other videos in that it's not really from the app that I'm going through. It's actually just notes I took from Google. So I don't know if it's going to make much sense. But I was doing the section of mathematics for my class, and which is using an app called Aztec software interdisciplinary material. But I went on a tangent, and since we were studying about angles and triangles, I went and looked up trigonometry. So I got a little bit of info on that, which may or may not help you when thinking about triangles and angles. Hopefully it's helpful. But there's also a lot of things that are just pure memorization relating to angles. So trigonometry has a lot of just pure memorization equations. Most teachers in their right mind don't expect you to remember all these equations. Usually they let you use scientific calculators or take cheat notes in to test. But let's try and go over it. Trigonometry is usually used in map making and astronomy, where you study angles and lines, etc. It's a it's a field dealing with sides and angles, and obviously triangles and functions of angles. So in Greek, trigon means triangle, and metron means measure. So the word trigonometry is basically the measuring of triangles. So a basic equation that applies to all triangles is A plus B plus C, being the three angles inside of a triangle, add up to 180 degrees. This is a rule that all triangles obey. If the triangle is a right triangle, it's special. So one of the angles is 90 degrees. So the Pythagorean theorem holds true for all right triangles, and this is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Each letter signifies one side of the triangle, and c is the longest or side or the hypotenuse, and a and b are the other two sides that make up the right angle. Sides and angles that touch are described as adjacent. Just a note, the word slope indicates a ratio of how many units a line increases vertically, also known as its rise, compared to how many units it increases horizontally, also known as its run. So slope equals rise over run. And you can see these on coordinate planes more easily when you graph. This is the part where it's mostly memorization. There are 6 functions for angles in trigonometry: sine, cosine, tangent, cotangent, secant, cosecant. These are properties of angles of a specific angle A, for example, independent of the size of the triangle. So sine of an angle A is the length of the opposite side divided by the length of the hypotenuse. Cosine of angle A is the length of the adjacent side divided by the length of the hypotenuse. Tangent of angle A is the length of the opposite side divided by length of adjacent side. So if you have sides being A, B, and C, sine is A over C, cosine is B over C, or adjacent over hypotenuse. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is A over B. So cosecant, secant, and cotangent are the inverse, or you basically flip the denominator and the numerator, whatever, you flip it. Whatever it is for sine, it's going to be can't see. So Sine opposite over hypotenuse. Inverse is hypotenuse over opposite, which is cosecant of that angle. Cosine adjacent over hypotenuse. Inverse is the secant. Hypotenuse over adjacent. Tangent opposite over adjacent. Inverse is adjacent over hypotenuse, or the cotangent. So the inverse is sine is cosecant. Cosine is secant. They're also referred to as arc, ARC, arc sine, arc cos. Never mind, forget it. So what else is important? So sines, a law of sines states that if both measures of one of the three opposing angles or side pairs are known, the others may be determined from just one known. So you know one angle and one side, and this is enough information to find the other angles and sides. Okay, the rest of the stuff is it gets really detailed and involved and specific with these equations. Okay, I'm gonna stop with the trigonometry right now. And then my teacher brought up the term polynomials, and I looked up the definition. So polynomial includes all variables and or constants and positive exponents, but it cannot have variables in the denominator. And these polynomials stand alone or as a part of an equation. Polynomials include mononomials, as well as two-term polynomials, or two or more terms or multiple terms. So constants are just numbers like integers, like 3, -20, etc., 1/2. Variables are things like x and y. Exponents are things to the power of 2, 3, etc. So these are included in polynomials, as well as any kind of equations, and anything except with variables in the denominator or negative exponents are considered as polynomials. 3x is a polynomial, x minus 2, any kind of equation basically. So one term is allowed, and it can just be a constant, so just a number. It doesn't have to have a variable. So the only thing that are not polynomials are if there's a negative exponent, this isn't allowed, or you divide by a variable. This is not allowed. Also, fractional exponents not allowed.
2 not equals h.
So just to review for trapezoids, again, to find the area, since two of the bases are different lengths, thank you, Ruben, for helping me look this up. So you're basically finding the average of the two bases, which are of two different lengths. So base 1 plus base 2. So the top base and the bottom base divided by 2. And then we'll give you the average of those two lengths. Then you multiply that by height. So normally for quadrilaterals with 4 sides, we just go base times height. But since the bases are of different lengths, we're going to find the average base length then by doing base plus 1 plus base 2 over 2, and multiply that by height, which is the distance from one base to the other base at the perpendicular angle that the line segment that connects from one base to the other base at a perpendicular angle. Thank you, guys. See you next time.